Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl Maurice. For those who don't know, I am an artist, an entrepreneur, musician, multifaceted, creative, and we are going live. Just give me 1 second. I thought I was ready, and then I wasn't. Hold on, y'all. Don't mind my background. Some of y'all probably seen it already anyway. But it is what it is. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so I'm just going to lean a little bit because I'm using the table at the moment. But because I wanted my floral background. Goodness, yes. All right. Okay. I gotta make sure the hair is right. Okay. So we are live right now, and if y'all are watching on that other platform, it will not be an enjoyable experience. If you're listening in on another platform, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience because you get to watch um, on my platform and my page, which it will be streaming live on YouTube and Kick. So if you don't follow me on Kick, it's literally just Maurice. I'm still working on, adding the picture and all the aesthetical things, you know, because it's a process. But what I wanted to do today was one kind of like continue my last stream where I was working on some behind the scenes stuff. Like I was showing you guys my flash drives and everything that I'm working on, my limited edition color ones, which I'm really excited about. Shout out to Dawn Richard because I got that idea from her. And, as humans on the planet, we're all inspired by everything around us to some degree. And, sometimes the line between inspiration and copying, can be blurred. But I like to give credit where credit is due. So shout out to Dawn Richard. Y'all should listen to her music and support her because she's a dope indie artist. And I mean, some of y'all might know her. Well, y'all most likely would probably know her from um, Danity Kane from back in the day when I was growing up. Like I watched Making a Band, seeing her on that show, and then followed her solo career. So shout out to her because she's a dope artist. She's very innovative, so talented, multifaceted, and does more than just like singing dance. Like she's a songwriter, she produces, she creative directs, she does animation, she draws, she does, like different projects with all these cool different things with like VR tech. And she had the idea of making her album a flash drive and made it into a necklace. So she's so far ahead. And yeah, I will always give credit where credit is due. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to be working on my flash drives. I'm not working on it right now because I just want to talk for a little bit and then get into the work. But you know, what I wanted to do was just kind of like chit chat a little bit because you know to some I might be famous for venting, um, and speaking my mind and speaking to the truths of the world. And you know, from that, I'm like, if anybody should be recording content, I mean, it should be me, and if I feel like I have some insightful things. I'm trying to be intentional about not leaning so much into gossip, because it's like gossip is enjoyable until people are gossiping about you, right? And I feel like there's more important things to actually discuss and talk about, and just for you to kind of get an understanding of me. You know what I'm saying? Like people have perceptions of you based on the specific things that they want you to know about you. whether it be good or negative. And as humans, there's duality, like there's good and bad to everyone, or light and dark, or however you want to look at it. Um, and so, with that said, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit and just like, you know, chit chat, a little bit. I had a little venting moment earlier today, and I was debating if I wanted to like talk about that or not. But I won't necessarily talk about like venting, but just certain experiences, just like as a black woman that I feel like other people can relate to. Um, just feeling like you have to try like 100 times harder than everybody else. And oftentimes you face rejection. And then also like there's the stigma about the type of woman you have to be in the world that kind of like is corny to me. um, but it's a real experience. And although I feel as though my life is a very unique experience, there's certain aspects to my reality as a human, having a spirit, having a human experience that other people can relate to, especially, like I said, as a Black woman, that dreams big and that's ambitious and talented. And, we're often misunderstood. And it's even more frustrating when we're misunderstood by our own people, the people that like we love and, protest for and represent and just go so hard for, like that's the thing that bothers me the most. But yeah, so basically, like I was just thinking, well, for one, let me show y'all a little something. So I was in my attic looking for some like high school memorabilia, and then like I found this old school picture of myself. Let me just share it somewhere. Go green. I had this old school picture of myself, right? Okay, y'all can't see it. You know, little me. I look very much the same now that I think about it, right? Okay, so little Maurice. I don't know how old I was in this picture, but I literally look exactly the same, like glasses and all, but like glowed up. But she had a glow at that time too, and I show this because, this girl right here, I felt like, there's so much to young Maurice that inspires me to be resilient in like the face of adversity. You know what I mean? Because like from as far as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a singer. Period. Like I didn't know nothing about nothing. I just knew I wanted to sing. I want to be an artist. I want to be a musician, a creative. It's what I knew, And the thing was, I grew up, really like admiring artists like Mariah Carey and Beyonce and Janet Jackson. And, you know, and I would look up to these women, one, because they were so talented, but just because of how beautiful they were. And, and as much as I wanted to be like that, I knew like I always felt like this little awkward girl. Like I'd never felt pretty about myself. I didn't feel like, you know, people understood me. I always felt different growing up. Like I had friends and stuff that I got along with, but I was one of those people that can just kind of like, I always say like I was a chameleon. I can fit into other people's worlds, but I didn't really know how to build a world for myself. And I guess I was too like nervous to have people fit into my world, because I'm like, what does that look like? And would people even be interested? Would people even care? You know? And and I always had an interest in fashion and just like the arts, and I always had like really good taste with music and art. Like even some of the stuff, how sometimes when you look back to your childhood stuff, your favorite things that you used to like back in the day, you're like, cringe. Nah, younger Reese had taste, like, you know, and I really appreciated that about myself. And she was a dreamer. She is a dreamer. And she always wanted to find a way to find like her style, her voice, her sense of self, you know. And the crazy thing when I think about it, just like how things have unfolded in my life today, like I've been on this really wild journey, and wild is to say the least. But it's been an interesting journey, a challenging one. But through that journey, I've grew, I've learned, I've built, I've evolved, and I feel like despite the noise of the external noise of the world, I feel like the woman that I am today, this girl would be proud of because, she was very insecure. Um, she was never really like the popular kid. I wasn't, one of those people that was just pretty their whole life. You know what I mean? Like it definitely was like a blooming process. Um, and the thing is like with about my childhood is like, my mom, she wasn't really in my life a majority of my childhood because she unfortunately, developed a situation with mental illness. But I always have these images and these pictures of her like before that happened, and I just see like this gorgeous woman, like for me, the archetype and the definition of divine feminine is my mom. My mother, Selena. She was a fashionista. Hair was done, nails done. She always had jewelry, dressed well. She had her signature perfume, like just a woman's woman. And I always remember her being, you know, from the few memories that I had as a kid, I always remember her like trying to instill in us like, you know, knowledge and, reading and stuff like that. And like I remember when I was a kid, the days when I didn't have school, I had like a miniature chalkboard and she would teach me the alphabet and have me write. And I'm like, bro, I gotta do this during the week at school and you having me do this on the weekends too. But as a kid, of course, when you're a kid, you be over it. You like, look, I just want to play with my toys lately. Like, but now I can look back at that moment and look back at it with gratitude. Look back at it. Um, sorry, I'm a little childish too. But not really. Like I can really appreciate that moment because I have very few memories of her before her illness, and the memories that I do have is just her, trying to love and protect her children, and teach us, and you know, and I admire those things. And like, even though through the years I've had to like figure out a lot of that on my own, like, during middle school and like even sometimes in high school or whatever, just, I don't know, throughout life, I've struggled with the journey of discovering myself as a woman, like discovering my, the things of womanhood, like, doing your hair and your nails and, hygiene stuff and having a perfume scent and just like, your own personal style. Like, and for me, like, I'm such a like multifaceted person. There's so many different styles that I can like lean into. Like, I can give you, you know, goddess vibes. I can give you like masculine swag. I could give you business cash. I can give you bohemian vibes. Like, because I like all of those different things. And, when I was a kid, I like would pull elements from that, but didn't know how to like style it. And it would just be like, girl, what is this? What's going on here? But like I knew when I seen fashion and I seen a look, I'm like, ooh, that's a look. I would love to wear something like that. I would love to rock something like that. And for me, it was tough because I had to figure that out on my own. Like, and I had different women around me, but not anyone that I knew. that like I felt like I had different friends, but I feel like we all were different in our own ways. Like I didn't really find anything like me. You know what I mean? Like my style and you know just my experience as a woman that I can pull from. And there's different people I guess like um on TV or whatever. But like like I was very much even when I was like going to school for fashion for a period of time, like, I was still in the self discovery phase in my life. I still hadn't quite like mastered it yet. Um, but, like my heart of hearts, like I've always been and still am, that awkward black girl, like quirky, just a little off kilter, like, I mean, it could get a little hood if need be, but really, which I don't want the smoke like that. I really just want to like meditate and burn my sage. But then also at the same time, like, it could give like Nirvana, it could give Rage Against the Machine, it could give all of that. And then even it could give all of that. And it can also give like a Tribe Called Quest. Because when it comes to hip hop, like I'm a hip hopologist, and I'm truly a fan of like old school hip hop, more so like the golden era. Like I'm trying to be aware of and knowledgeable of like 80s hip hop, but it's really the 90s that do it for me. Like the jazzy 70s samples and just like the style of rapping, the cadence was different at that time, thanks to Rakim, who really ushered in a whole new style of how people approached rhyming back in the day. Shout out to Rakim, a legend. And and just like all those different things, I'm into all of those things, and just also into like film, and then also into like environmental stuff, and things to do with my community, and just like the liberation and freedom of women, and just of black women at that, you know. So like I don't know, there's just so many different facets and dimensions of me, and I feel like at the time when I was that girl, I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know what that looked like in a way where I felt confident in myself, and I felt like, girl, you ate that look. Like I would have moments, I think back in the day, I would have little moments where, like, the winter ball or something like that in high school, and I pick out a really cute dress, and I was like, "Ooh, girl, you ate that look," But then, like, back to the uniform, and and I just never felt like the pretty girl. I never felt like the girl the guys would look at, or girls, even though like at that time I wasn't, I don't know, my sexuality at that time was interesting. Because I went to an all girls school and they have like the stigma that, oh, there's lesbians there. And I really didn't have that experience in high school. I didn't really start dating women until after I left high school, actually, where I had my first relationship with a girl um, in that summer, like before school or whatever. Who y'all think? But yeah, it was an interesting time. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, like I just always felt like that girl that you know, I felt like an ugly duckling, you know, and I look at this picture of this girl, and and I know she's not ugly. I know she's a beautiful girl, and she's talented, and what's crazy is like in this picture, I have like a shawl around me because I was taking pictures that day. Full circle moment of me taking pictures by the monument. And that was like the last project that I did on my own. Like people haven't worn shades before, but well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, full circle moment, or maybe that was a manifestation for someone. I don't know. But I look at this girl and I know she's always like watched America's Next Top Model and wanted to feel like the girl who could be on Vogue. And I just know that just wasn't what I looked like or what I felt like at that time. And I knew I had it in me, but I just didn't have the means or the guidance to express that. And I would always look at like the popular girls or the pretty girls in school, and a lot of times they were not really that friendly. And like there was this one girl in my after school program, and she wasn't really the nicest at that time. It could be a different story now, because people change, and my life should be a testament to that. But I mean, I never really had too many bad interactions with her, but I felt like the one time where she actually acknowledged me as a human, it wasn't really positive. Um, but I was just like, damn, this girl is pretty. She got long hair. She dresses well. First of all, how you dressed up? Don't you go to a school with uniform? Like, how do you make uniform look so fly? You know what I mean? Like, just, and I was never that girl. And I always wanted to be like that, and like, of course, that was the girl that all the guys was trying to holler at. And I was just not that. Um, and so, like, I don't know. It's interesting looking at this picture. But in this picture, the reason why I say this is because I was taking pictures at this time. Like, we were I think it was like a school trip or something like that. And they took us to a park in the area, and it's like, the girl with the glasses and the button up and this blue jacket that isn't giving any looks, but it's keeping me warm. Um, and I had a camera on me, and it's like, it's kind of like full circle for me, because like even though at that time I didn't really get to express how I felt as a creative, and I was still figuring out my style as a creative. Um, you know, I was still very much, I'm still to this day very much that girl with the glasses, respectfully. Um, you know, and with a camera, because in some circumstances, I mean, I was always kind of like into photography, but recently, I feel like recently I finally got to a space where like I can create visual art that looks fly to my standard. It took me a while to get there, because like you have to go through everything, right? And unfortunately, being that from the shade and the rumors and drama of my recent years, it's put me in a position where, you know, the rejection that I faced when trying to collaborate with other people, I have had to learn things on my own. I've had to figure out, all right, well, you know what? I just got to get the camera out and shoot the visual myself. Or, I got to get this camera out and, you know, or, edit the video myself, figure it out, just, I got to style this myself, and I felt like I had a visual project. I mentioned this in my last stream that when I did the just one a video, it was not that pleasant of an experience for numerous reasons. But from that, I was just like, look, I really could do this. I really could do this on my own. Like I trusted. I was still kind of like evolving my swag at this point. Like I had a vision for that project, but it didn't come out the way I needed it to. But when I got all the way up to doing the visual for Divine, which is not out, and it won't come out until I say so. But when I got up to that point, I just felt like I was on this journey of like self love and self, like, building my confidence and healing myself, and really just figuring out my style and my swag, and just like unapologetically, without trying to cater to someone else's approval or expectations of what I should look like or what I should dress like. And and in that, like, I've definitely evolved Because I had my little hot girl moment or whatever, and and I mean, still have that. I mean, this is kind of giving a little hot girlish. I don't know. Um, I just have like a really regular, whatever y'all, most of y'all probably see my room anyway. It's a little messy, but it's simple. It's just getting very like, body calm, regular, chill wear, you know. But anytime you show a little cleavage, then it's like, ooh, whoa. And it's like, all right, well, I'll be the flyest hoe there is. Um, but but yeah. So okay, hey son, I'm appreciating this lighting right now. This rainbow light. Sorry, let me get the titties right. Anyway, so yeah, it took me a while to like figure it out, like figure out the look. And even now, like my hair isn't really done right now. And actually, I was gonna take my glasses off. I probably will, just because I put so much time and energy into doing this makeup. But yes, ooh, it's given, it's given. Sorry, don't let me look in the mirror too long. Anyway, um, but yeah, it was a learning process. It was a learning journey, and and mind you, I've had one of those experiences where you know, because of high school experience, like going to an all-girls school, whatever the case may be, in a private school at that. Like had a pretty like somewhat of a sheltered experience. I never really grew up, in the hood having to fight nobody. Around. Well, I was around some drug dealers and all that, but whatever. Like it was like a little bit of best of both worlds, but I wasn't around too much like crazy trauma stuff. You know what I mean? Like I mean, well, there have been experiences where like so and so just got shot or um and I have experienced that, but like nothing where it was like I was out on the street when it happened type of thing, you know but yeah, I don't know, I just had this unique experience where I just felt like growing up I felt like the awkward black girl that yearned to have this creative style and self-expression through music and art, but like my own personal style didn't look like what I envisioned for myself. Like I know there's more in this, and, and that's why I can appreciate artists like Mariah Carey, just because like I've always admired her as a vocalist and as a singer, but when I learned more about her life story, and I'm just like, girl, I feel you. I feel you though, because she grew up biracial and she had this like experience of just like, growing up through poverty. Well, not poverty, but they weren't rich. You know what I'm saying? Like they were struggling a little bit. And, and she was like, I know I'm this glamorous, fabulous girl inside, but I don't have the resources to really just express this. And her issues with her hair growing up, and how was like, grow up the same way. Like, child, there were so many times where I've had some jailbird braids, the straight backs, the free meat braids, and I'm just like, girl, this is not it. Not for me. Like, I'm out here looking like Allen Iverson. Like, and don't, no shade, he's a fine man, but not for a little girl. Like, like I should not be looking like I'm playing for the 96ers. Like, I should. I mean, shout out to 96ers though. We love that. We love a 96. But yeah, no, it wasn't giving the way it should have been giving as a kid. And I know there was better out there. Um, but it was worth your while. Say something. But but yeah, like it was an interesting experience, and I'm finally grateful that I'm in an era where I know how to style myself, and I have the resources to put it together, and I know what looks good on me and what doesn't. And you know, just the most organic and, you know, honest way for me to express myself as a creative, because just not even just as someone, like as a woman, but just like as someone that's an artist and that's always had an appreciation for art and wanting to express myself through art, you know? And, I guess for me, like, I just wanted to speak to that just because, like, I know there's other girls out there that feel like that. That feel like the awkward black girl, that feels like, you know, you're not the pretty girl, or but you want to be a pretty girl or whatever. But, and I guess what I want to say to that is like, I feel like during a time in my life where shit started to go to hell, essentially, was me trying to be, not trying to be the pretty girl, but be the girl that I felt like other people wanted me to be, and it ultimately like backfired. And not only that, but I was like, the thing is, like, I'm ambitious too. And, I often say, like, I got white man ambition because, white men, they just don't have no limits to what they think they can do sometimes, depending, I'm not saying all white men, but I'm saying like the top of the world who are the billionaires in the world are mostly white men that think beyond limitations of, oh, I can't do this. And it's like, and people think I'm ridiculous or try to make fun of me for thinking, oh, this girl wants to have a space program, whatever. It's like, why not? Why not? Elon got a space program. Why can't I have a space program? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, don't get me wrong, like, not like negating like him as someone that went to school for, what did he go to school for? Like physics or something like that? Or like, um, so like I understand it's more than just like, like you have to be somewhat intelligent. But I mean, Jeff Bezos ain't no physicist, and he got the money to start a space program. So, and this man started with a bookstore. So, you know what I'm saying? But the only difference is he's a white man. And I mean, no shade to Jeff Bezos. We like Jeff Bezos. We shop Amazon, from time to time. But I'm just saying, like, why can't black people have that same ambition? Why can't we have that same drive and the same like dream, or just the thought like, I want to have a space program, whether it happens or not, whatever. But just the nerve to say it, you know. And it's like people usually look down on you and laugh at you for that, but it's like, okay, like what is that teaching other black kids that may have similar dreams that seem so wild and out of this world and impossible? Yeah, my dream is out of this world, literally. That's the point, but it's like, I do that. I mean, one, because like, why not? I feel like interstellar exploration is interesting, and there's so much more beyond what's in our solar system. And, and I mean, it might seem crazy and ridiculous at this point in time on the planet, but maybe years from now, it'll be regular. You know what I'm saying? But it takes a mind to like spark the idea and the audacity and the ambition to say, why not? You know? And I don't know, I just feel like, you know, my me being a black woman as my human experience, you know, I feel like that's what adds to my resilience, because like there's so much bullshit that black people have gone through historically and even to this day, where people try to stomp us out or stomp out our flame. And it really bothers me when it's my own people, because it's like, this is what I do this for. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sure, it's my dream. And not only just my dream, but it was inspired by my father's dream. Because, I remember being a kid and I asked my dad, I was like, when you were a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he told me he wanted to be an astronaut. And, and I mean, whatever various reasons happened, whereas, he wasn't able to pursue that, it's always been my dream to be like, well, you know what? Let's take it a step further. And not only that, but just to be like, it's not only my dream to be like, okay, let's have a space program, but I've always wanted to have a moment to do it in his lifetime and to say, like, look, this is our legacy. You know what I'm saying? And to like make that dream happen for him. You know what I mean? Um, and to know that a black person can do that. And it's like, it's possible, because I'm told one of the stories um, that, my name, Maurice, came from Star Trek, from Kira Nerys, who was on the show. And it's interesting because I found another Nerys on the planet who has the same name as me, um, spells it the same way, and got her name the same exact way. Like her dad named her that from Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of just like in my bones to always be intrigued about the cosmos. Um, and, and it's not even just about that, but just like, you know, why shoot down the dreams of a black girl when it can show other black kids you can dream big too, whether it happens or not, but just to open your mind and think that it's possible that you can do it. Like that's what's important to me. And so, and it really bothers me when and I get it, like people are always gonna like try to shut you down and say, oh, you can't do that. Oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. That's impossible. People are always gonna do that regardless. But it just really bothers me when now, like I can handle the negative hearsay, but it's when people deliberately try to hold you down, prevent you from that. And, and that just like as irritating as it is, especially when it's, black folks who I aim to, you know, do the work for, it just lets me know the fact that you have to go through so many lengths and so jump through so many hoops to try me lets me know that you believe that I can do it. And as much as you try to shame me and laugh me off and say, like, oh, this girl is crazy or whatever the case may be, like the fact that so many people have to go through jump through so many hoops to try to, like, discredit you, defame you, make you out to be crazy, try to destroy you, you know, I'm like, well, damn, little old me. I'm like, well, first of all, I mean, there's some humans that might have a reason to be upset at me. And it's like, all right, valid. No matter how many times I say sorry, bitches is just gonna be mad and whatever. That's just fine. But there's people who don't know me from a can of paint who literally give me a hard time. And I'm just like, bruh, I do this for the planet. Like, I'm literally here for, you know, the elevation and the empowerment of everyone. Like, that's really the world that I would love to see. But everybody, people don't respect that. People like, you know, ugh, we're in such a chaotic time where, people value like whose manipulation is the most clever, or who's the most, who can make the most power moves in these chess games or whatever bullshit, and it's like, and so much of my life has been surrounded by that, by like trying to master strategy to outsmart the people trying to outsmart me or whatever the case may be. But it's like, I mean, I get you need to understand that, especially in like the corporate spaces and, spaces where you have to deal with the politics of other people. But it's like, I don't want to have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of having to do that. Like, that's not me. Like I understand it for like, defensive reasons or whatever the case may be, but it's like I'm not trying to do power moves to take out the other person. Like I want to empower the other person. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't got time to fight with you. I'm trying to elevate. all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my goal. Like that's my whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what bothers me sometimes. Anyway, regardless, sorry talking about the things that bother me. But you know, and also like the hmm, like another epiphany moment just happened in my brain. Right, I mentioned a Tribe Called Quest earlier. Um, Shout out to Q-Tip and his Renaissance album. For those who haven't listened to it, you should. It's amazing. It was amazing when it came out and when I enjoyed it as a kid, and it's amazing to this day. Um, but me as a Tribe Called Quest fan, you know, their very last music video, a space program, the space program, inspired me as well. You know, because it's like okay, and just the visuals, the message in that visual, and you know, trying to like play all these chess games with people, and it's like that shit isn't important. You know what I'm saying? Trying to play all these chess games, reading all these books on strategy and war and all this stuff. And it also reminds me of Lucy too, the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. And like, you know, she takes these drugs and she opened up another dimension of her mind and she can see through, you know, the holographical space of Earth. And, you know, and then you got all these people literally trying to gun her down over these drugs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there is value with the drugs, so I kind of understand that. But it's literally a war going on to try to take down this one woman. And she's just trying to elevate the consciousness of the planet. She's like, hold on, y'all. But, like, I mean, first of all, I didn't even want to take these drugs. Like, the drugs were forced on her, you know? And because of that experience, she just kind of like elevated to a space where she like just couldn't even relate with regular people because she's just like, bro, I see through the matrix of this 3D human reality, you know? And mind you, she got to worry about these people trying to chase her down over the drugs. But it's like, that's not even like, that's so like trivial to what actually matters, you know? And that's how I feel about my life. I'm just be like, yo, these little, you know, strategic games and all this. Like, okay, it's wow, you thought 10 moves ahead and, you know, did this power move or whatever the case may be. Like, wow, how clever. But it's like, does that shit really matter? Like, it really, like, that shit don't matter. It's like, okay, you thought 20 steps ahead to fuck somebody over. But it's like, who's that helping? How is that helping anything? Because it's like, okay, preparing you for people like that. I don't want to be around people like that. Period. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and that's the challenging balance of like the white man ambition. But it's like, okay, you want white man ambition, you got to play by the white man's games. But it's like, nah, fuck the white man's games. I don't want to play them games. But anyway, you know, just my thought. And, you know, again, like, I just feel like there's more important things to talk about. And segue into, you know, my visual project that I put out a few months ago. Then I kind of went under the radar for that. You know, with the visual that I did to the choreography. It was a choreography video of Beyonce's Coachella performance of Everybody Mad. Because I mean, I had that in mind to do for a long time anyway. And I feel like it kind of like evolved into something, you know, it evolved into something interesting. But, you know, and my intention was, I was like, okay, you know, if this happens to be an opportunity where the world is watching, you know, what do I want to say? You know what I mean? And how can I use this to be more than just like a dance video? You know, how can I do this with intention, within purpose, with with a purpose and talk about something that's actually important, you know? And that was the intention, of like, the locations and, me filming in front of the Trenton Soup Kitchen. Um, because like as a kid, I've volunteered there when I was in school. I volunteered there when I was, I mean, not in school, but like when, like a few years ago, I was still in the midst of my own like little traumatic experience, but still trying to find a way to give back in the midst of like dealing with my own shenanigans. Um, and it was just too much for me. It was a bit at that time. Now it would be a different experience, but whatever. I was going through a lot, and still going through a lot, you know. But my whole intention was like, how do I use this creative outlet to discuss something that's actually important? And I feel like, the whole moment, like for me, it's like, how do I say this? For me, I feel like I've had a lot of experiences within the last few years where I like have been, dealing with the consequences of mistakes that I've made in my youth or whatever. And then like, because of that, and as well as just me on a natural like personal development journey, I'm like, okay, let me look at this situation and be better. Let me grow from this. And I just constantly felt like everything that I did to try to be better wasn't enough for people. You know what I mean? Like creatively, personally, just like nothing felt like it was enough. It's just like everything that I did was wrong. I'm an awful person, this and that. Oh my gosh, she a hoe, she this, she that. And it's crazy because you could be celibate for years and people still try to label you to be a hoe. Like it's really wild, And again, speaking to that experience, like if I were a white man in position of power, I would be the man. I would be iconic. I mean, I'm still iconic just because I claim that over my life. Like I declare that. But or maybe because I'm a narcissist, you know, shout out to narcissism saving my life when, it felt like um, you know, everybody else wanted to make me out to be an awful person. And and I believed it for a period of time. And I know like I made a lot of mistakes and I'm aware of that. But I just got to a point where I was like, okay, nurse, you can't do this for people. You have to do it for you and God, and know that you're just gonna grow regardless. You're just gonna learn and evolve regardless. And and I tried to do the whole Martin Luther King, Gandhi method of like, love thy neighbor and Jesus and all of that, because for one, that's just natural to me. That's like I don't want to be combative. I don't want to fight people that I love. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to fight people that I was friends with or went to school with. Like, I feel like when there's conflict, you can have a conversation and move past it. Especially with people who say they love you. But in my situation, I was dealing with people that was like, oh no, it's fine. And we're still acting sus. And I'm just like, I don't got time for this. So I like separated myself from that. And I was just like, went like dive deep down the rabbit hole of personal development. And then, and I was still dealing with like people relentlessly like being disrespectful and subliminal ways and just like slighting me and giving me a hard time. And, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just pray for these people because they're just projecting onto me whatever issues that they have or whoever triggered them or whatever the case may be. And it's like, and although that might be true, it doesn't change the fact that it's like, it's hard and difficult dealing with vehement attacks and being berated by like negative energy when all you're trying to do is like be better. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, like, yeah, I fucked up. I know, I'm aware. You know, I'm very aware. And it's like, okay, because of that, let me not fuck up that way anymore. But it's like you realize like nothing is good enough for people. And it's like, and it gets to a point where you realize society is going to a space where it's like it's acceptable to be hateful, and it's acceptable to not have the grace for forgiveness and redemption and growth. Like, no, we're going to label you this for the rest of your life, no matter how much you do to try to change for the better. And then I just got to a point where it's just like, I was in a space where it was like overwhelming at one point years ago, where I would just like shut down and I would like be reclusive and stuff like that. And that was just like my response to the trauma. And then like I would just got to a point where I was just like, fuck that, man. Like, nah. And I would listen to motivational videos. Shout out to Eric Thomas and Lisa Nichols and just a lot of people that spoke to like just overcoming that trauma in your life. And then I got to a point where it's like, okay, you know what, Maurice, you're not an awful person. You've made, maybe awful mistakes, but you're a beautiful person. You deserve respect, you deserve love, you deserve a second chance. And if nobody's going to give it to you, you need to give it to yourself. And I did that in the face of, judgment and all of that stuff. And it's like, and even in my growth, I felt like my growth was apparent, but I was still dealing with people like gaslighting me and, just being disrespectful and just like, giving me a very hard time. And like, and then it gets to a point where it's like, you know what? Fuck this kumbaya shit. Like, bitch, I'm about to swing on these motherfuckers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or like at least like to the bare minimum, stand my ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just like stand up for myself. And it's like when people are so used to disrespecting you and then you actually like defend yourself, then it's like, oh my God, she's being disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. And I feel like in recent years, the only thing that I've ever done to be, you know, disrespectful, not intentionally, were in circumstances where it felt like my back was against the wall. I had nobody that I could rely on and trust to like have my back and protect me and stand up for me. And I had to stand up for myself. And, I was either standing up for myself or trying to protect myself or my family, you know, because I feel like we're in a time where like there's so much spiritual awakening, but it's done in such a low vibrational way where it's like, okay, like, yeah, embracing the left hand, embracing your shadow self, accepting your shadow, and not shaming your shadow, which is what I was trying to do. But it was like, oh no, we're going to embrace our shadow, but you can't embrace your shadow. We're going to shame your shadow for the rest of your life. And it's like, nah, fuck that narrative. Like, I reject that from my reality. And, and it's like, it's frustrating because, especially when it comes from people that you look up to, people that you admire, and people that at one point you think will give you guidance. And like, because of course, like as humans, we make mistakes. Like, sometimes it's like, shouldn't have did that. Shouldn't have moved that way. But it's good to have people around you that's going to tell you straight up, like, hey, that's probably not the best move. You know, and not in a way where they're trying to shame you and bring you down and talk to you condescendingly, but just like, all right, steer you in the right direction. And I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing constant, you know, attacks spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it's like the times where I do make a decision to stand up for myself is like, oh, you're being disrespectful. And it's like my intent isn't being disrespectful, it's the fact that I'm constantly being disrespected. And then when I stand up for myself, it's a problem, And I just feel like oftentimes that's like the norm for Black women in general. And it really grinds my gears when it's Black women ushering that shame. And, and it's like as if like Okay, and people might feel like, oh, it's justifiable. It's like, well, you had it coming because you did this. It's like, okay, yeah, how many years ago? Like, are we still gonna be mad about that? Like, I can't go back in time and change it. So the fuck do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying my best to be a good person. I'm trying my best to change my negative habits. Like, I know during a time in my life where I was the most toxic was when I was drinking a lot, I was smoking a lot, I was like dating around and all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, I recognize self awareness, accountability. Okay, these are probably not the best habits. So let me, you know, fight the temptation. Let me gain some self discipline, some self control, and, you know, be the one to not be pulled by previous addictions that I've had. You know what I'm saying? And most times, when you really love somebody and you see them making a change for the better and they're being disciplined, you will celebrate them for that. Like, everybody knows somebody or has a friend or somebody that they know that's probably struggled with like alcoholism or drugs and stuff like that. And then, like, they get in so many fucked up situations. But then when you see that they start to make a change for the better, you're supposed to be happy for them. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to celebrate that growth. You're supposed to celebrate, like, yo, man, look at so and so. They turning their life around. They don't be out late doing this no more. They be, they be in church. They be praying. They always praying. You know what I'm saying? And it's like bars. They be praying. You know what I'm saying? But but yeah, like you're supposed like when you really love somebody, you're supposed to be happy when they're changing for the better. And I realized certain people around me were intentionally trying to lead me down that path. And we're intentionally trying to manifest that I fall into those habits, and I guess in a way it was convenient for them. I don't know, but like I realized, like you realize the hard way, like certain people that you think are friends or family or loved ones really don't want you to be good. They don't want you to be in your best mind and your best health, and celebrate you when you win and support you. Sometimes they say like, oh, I want to be there for you, but they really want to be there so they can see if their negative intentions are working, you know, and it's unfortunate. And I feel like so many people are in this mindset that it's okay to like shame and reject and condemn people who make mistakes in their life, as if everybody on this planet don't make fucking mistakes in their life. And it's like, and it's like, oh, but you should have known, you should have known. But it's like, okay, I didn't. I didn't know. I know now. I'm trying now. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. Um, but yeah, like my whole point in saying that, I mean that's my TED talk. Um, But like, I wanted to share that specifically for one, like to the black girls out there who feel like, you know, you feel like one, you haven't really like discovered yourself. You might not feel comfortable in your own skin. You might feel insecure. Like I just want you to know you're beautiful. If nobody else tells you that, you beautiful. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that because it's nice to hear. I'm telling you, like, girl, you the baddest out here. And it's okay if you're in that space where you haven't quite figured it out yet. You haven't quite figured out your look, or the hairstyle that makes you feel the prettiest, or that, or whatever outfit that accentuates your body the way you want it to. Sometimes you have to go through trial and error of like, figuring out like, okay, what looks good on me, what makes me feel confident. But I would just say, like, when you're in that space, don't try to fill that void through toxic outlets, which was the mistake that I made. Like giving, access, giving people access to you just because they compliment you and they make you feel pretty when you don't feel pretty about yourself. It's like, okay, yeah, they can give you that compliment and receive the compliment, even if they're being like slimy or whatever the case may be, you know, but don't let it define you. You know what I'm saying? And I think the overall message, not thinking about it, the overall message of what I'm saying is like, don't let anybody define you, whether it's good or bad. Because if people can give you compliments and this and that when you feel shitty about yourself, they're setting themselves in a position to manipulate you and to control you because you put so much weight and value into what they say about you because they tell you that you're pretty when you don't think you are. And then, once they turn around and say, oh, you ugly, then that's going to shatter your world. You need to be in a space where you can look at yourself and, you might not feel the prettiest or you might be insecure. And it's like, I'm not going to sit up here and act like that's not valid emotions, you know, but know that you define who you are. And if you don't feel pretty, even when you don't feel pretty, tell yourself, I'm pretty, I'm beautiful, I'm lovely, I'm lovable, I'm a queen, I'm a goddess, you know? And slowly but surely, you align to that. Slowly but surely, what a goddess looks like to you, what a queen feels like to you, what being gorgeous looks like to you will align to you. And it's like when you go shopping, you start picking out certain things. It's like, you know what? When you try it on and you feel pretty, you start looking at different hairstyles or whatever. And it's like, okay, this hairstyle makes me feel beautiful. And and the thing is like really like honing that in, even when you don't feel like it, like that's really the key. And like, I felt like I wish I had those tools when I was younger, when I was this little girl, you know, but give her some glory, some shine. This beautiful girl right here, this beautiful little quirky, awkward girl that was creative and gorgeous and, kind and loving and friendly, and still is. But, this little girl, um, you know, I wish that I had those tools when I was that age because I ultimately developed those tools when I went through a stage of feeling like when I had so much external hate and external negativity and people making me feel like I'm not a good person, I'm not beautiful, or I'm just a hoe, or this or that. And you know what? And okay, before I get to that point, but segueing, like, you define yourself. And you have to define yourself before you let somebody else define you. And when you have those moments of insecurity and, like you feel like you're not good enough or you're not pretty enough or my body isn't right or whatever the case may be, like, you know, don't let that lead you to a path of just letting anybody be all up on you sexually, physically, emotionally, all of that, just because they feel a little bit of that void in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this guy's giving me attention. So, like, if he thinks I'm pretty, then I must be pretty. But that's because he thinks so, or she thinks so, or they think so. And what it needs to be is that, even if you're in that space, is like acknowledging, like, okay, I feel insecure right now. I don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm that girl, but having the discipline to not fall into those relationships or into that habit of just dating anybody because they make you feel pretty or just, like entertaining anybody. Like, you are so precious. You are so valuable. You're beautiful, even when you don't feel like it. I mean, all it requires is a little swag switch up. That's it. All you need to do is just find your swag. That's all. You know, all you need to do is just figure out what makes you feel good and what makes you look good. You know what I'm saying? And once you figure that space out, that's when you really align with the things that make you feel good. And don't let the outside noise block your blessings, okay? Don't let the outside noise, even if there are people who are ignorant enough to say, like, oh, you ugly, oh, you're not enough, or you'll never be this. Like, just recognize that the people who have the nerve to say that are probably really from that way about themselves. Or, or probably have people say that to them and they feel like it's okay to just talk to people like that. And it's like, no, you know, and it's like you can't let outside people have so much power over how you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that was the mistake that I felt like I made in my youth was like, being insecure and just giving anybody a chance who said I was pretty because I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel like the pretty girl or like the popular girl or the girl that all the guys were like trying to get at. And the few people that would try to get at me, I was like, "Oh, okay, let me give them a chance. And it's like, no, girl, we have standards now. We know our worth. We know our value. And quite frankly, my worth is undervalued. And I need to add taxes on it. Okay. But yeah, and then okay, so that was the other thing that I wanted to say. And so yeah, when people do say the negative things, about you, again, like whether it's negative or positive, receive the positive, you know, and reject the negative, but always be centered in who you are, and I will say like, despite the outside noise that happens in the world or whatever people think or say and stuff like that, like I know that I don't care what you say about me. I know I'm popping. Like I know I'm the shit. I'm that girl. Like, and you can't convince me otherwise because bitches wouldn't be so mad if I wasn't. Like, I mean, that's me making light of it and being funny. But like, no, like I really had to do the work to get my confidence to a place where it's like I know who I am. Nobody else can tell me who I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like I say I'm a goddess, so I'm a goddess. And it don't matter what you can do to try to block that or move things in the way to try to block my goddess shine. It don't matter because I'm a goddess within. My spirit first, then the flesh and the body, you know? And I know like my spirit is royal. I know that. You can't tell me otherwise. And I don't say that to be cocky or narcissistic, but I say that as in knowing, know thyself. And who you say you are is who you are. So if I say I'm a goddess, I'm a goddess. I don't care what hatred I get or negativity. It don't matter because you can't tell me who I am. I know who I am. And I only say that because I want you to know who you are and know that you're a goddess and you're a queen. And, and even when you don't feel like it, you need to tell yourself that. And, and know that whatever insecurity that you're feeling right now, it's temporary. You can grow out of that. Like I said, it's just a swag switch up. Girl, you just need to change the wardrobe. That's about it. You just need to figure out like the makeup look that works for you. You just need to figure out like, okay, maybe not that eyeliner, but this one. That's all it is. And and sometimes people will say like, oh, who do you think you are to, you know, say this or who you are to think so highly of yourself. I mean, y'all think so highly of me, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? Because like again, like people people don't get hated on for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like I really, I forget the song, but there's this great, hip hop philosopher that says, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. And I believe that that's scripture because I've had quite a few haters. So I'm like, well, damn, I just gotta be popping. I don't know. Like, it's just the DNA. I don't know what you want me to do with it. But, but I didn't always feel that way. I didn't always feel that way, you know? And I just got to a point where it's like, despite what anybody else says about me, I'm not going to feel that way. I'm not going to feel like shit about myself. Like, I'm going to feel good about who I am. I'm going to do the work to grow and know that I'm doing the work and celebrate myself. and know that every day I'm getting better. Every day I'm learning. Every day I'm growing. Every day I'm evolving. And regardless of what anybody else has to say about that, I know that. I know that within myself. And soon everybody will too, And, for some of the experiences that I've had to still be standing, to still be in my right mind, to still even have the nerve to have confidence, to still have the nerve to not only love myself, but want to show other people how to love themselves, and not only still care to even try to get people to love themselves. Because I really could be on some F the world shit. And there's times where I do feel that way. I'm like, I'm still human. I have emotions. But I get past it because I know that's not my default. Like, my default is that I really want to give love, and I really want a world of peace where we all respect each other's differences. And although we might not agree on everything, we might see things differently, we can all hold space for each other to just exist. Like, and I don't have to be like a holy or thou good person. Like, I can just be a person on the planet, and I'm enough just because I'm here, you know, and you're enough just because you're here, you know, and that's important. I don't have to be some therapist or some expert or whatever. I just know through the things that I've been through, and for me to still be me and still try to find the joy in the midst of it, and still try to have little dance moments, and and find the laughter and find a reason to smile in the midst of like so much negativity in the world. I feel like that says something, and I recognize that within myself. And I know that I have a spirit that's not easily broken, and there's value with that, there's beauty with that. And I think, if anything, while I'm here on the planet, you know like, if it's not through music, then I want to say something that's important, and say something to the other girls who might be like, young Maries, other girls who might be in their life where, you know, you're just trying to do your little photography thing, and you might not feel like the best about yourself. You might not feel the prettiest, but like you have something to offer. You know that you're important. You know that your thoughts matter and your creativity matters. I want to let other girls like her know that there's a space in this world for you, and that nobody can take that away, you know, and there's beauty within you. And it's like, yeah, you can make mistakes, and, you'll deal with people trying to hold you back, and people trying to shame you and discredit you, and steal from you and all this stuff, or whatever the case may be. But like, it doesn't have to destroy your soul, you know. It could piss you off, and, it might make you want to, do a little tussle, but we heal through that, and we grow through that. And and I think it's okay to express those emotions, but then also know that, you know, you can get back to a space of love, and appreciation for one another, you know, again, despite the outside noise and what other people try to make you out to be and make you feel like. So I hope this message finds somebody who needs it. I know somebody needed that, because Lord knows that little girl, she needed that. And and every day, like, what really keeps me going, aside from like my mama, who I love dearly, and who is the blueprint for me, just as a woman, and just like, what it means to be a woman and what it looks like. And, even though she wasn't really there to show me, she left breadcrumbs for me to figure it out. And I definitely have to figure it out the hard way. But I mean, we here though, you know. Um, but aside from my mom and being my main like inspiration as a woman, it's often this girl right here, my inner child, because, you know, she just wanted to be a little superstar. She just wanted to feel fabulous. And again, like, I just, every day, I don't give up. And every day I work hard to make her proud, and hope that in me pushing through, and in me, you know, fighting every day despite the negativity that I deal with sometimes, you know. Um, she's proud because, every day I learn something that's in alignment with what she always wanted to be. She always wanted to be beautiful. She always wanted to give back to the world. She always wanted to sing her songs. Even though back then I didn't want to play guitar, I play guitar, a little something, something. And it's so crazy. Like I was just thinking, like, girl, there were so many times in my childhood where like I wasn't aware of the spiritual things, but my spirit was always kind of like in tune with the things that I would naturally just reject. And and it's just so crazy because like I always wanted to be a singer, and I am a singer. Hence my microphone back here. Love my bouquet mic. If anybody starts doing it, I did it first because I'm an originator and a trendsetter of this era. But because although you might not have the steps on your page, people always be looking at the little artist. So, but I'm not little. I'm a big deal in my soul. But anyway, always wanted to be a singer, right? And then the only downside to that was just like, hearing all these horror stories about like people being taken advantage of, people being exploited, people being pimped for their art and not being able to own the rights to their art. And I just told myself, like, I just knew that was not going to be my reality. I was just like, I want to be a singer, but I don't want to be those artists. Like, I don't want to be the person that is taken advantage of and, you know, they're not getting paid for their art or whatever the case may be. And that's why, you know, I started my record label, Neonac Entertainment, where I own my masters and, I own the copyrights to my music. And, because of technology, I mean, and you thought like, okay, early 2000s, the issue was like piracy with online music, right? Because of LimeWire. And granted, I'm guilty. I was on LimeWire. I feel like, you know, I was on LimeWire mainly because of my brother. I'm sorry, bro. I'm gonna throw you a little bit on the bus. Not throw you. I'm just gonna like, walk you to the bus a little bit. Um, because like he was on LimeWire, and I was like, "Yo, can you get this song? This song?" You know what I'm saying? So like, that was the time of that era. Then you had like Spotify and streaming platforms. So it was like, okay, cool. You don't really have to legally download the music. You could just pay for the streaming platform. That was a good solution to that, right? And I was just thinking like, okay, from like the last 10 years, I've spent so much time doing the research on the music industry, on business, about owning your masters. That's what everybody talks about. Own your masters, own your masters, own your publishing, especially if you're a songwriter, if you're a rapper and you write your rhymes, if you're a producer and all those things, like learn the things that you need to learn, understand these contracts. Because everybody keeps talking about bad contracts with major labels and advances and recouping and all of these things, right? So I spent so much time studying this because I just knew I was not going to be that artist where people take advantage of and try to exploit, you know? And, you know, it's just like always the advancement with technology. That's crazy. Um, and it just, I guess my point of what I'm saying is like sometimes you try to do everything right. You do all the research, you think you're so prepared. And then sometimes it just takes another person that's more clever at being, you know, more like crafty and, you know, exploitive. They find crafty ways to pimp a butterfly. And it's frustrating, especially as an artist. And I know there's other artists out there, who might have gone through a situation like that, where you might have signed a deal with a label and you thought you was getting this, but it wasn't that, or you might not have known anything. and you thought the lawyer that you had with you was going to break it down for you. But if you was using a lawyer through the label, they're going to lean towards the benefit of the label. So it's like knowing those different things, and it's like, okay, like there's just so many ways that people out here just be trying to rape you, and whether it be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, and it's just like frustrating. And I say that just because I know I've dealt with situations where, or a situation where, I know my devices have been hacked and my creative work has been on display, without my consent. And, and it's easy to replicate, work that you haven't copywritten yet just because you're still in the process of working on it, And I say this to say, like, I am working on creative projects. I have quite a few things that I'm trying to put together right now, despite being in a like spiritually, emotionally toxic circumstance. Um, but still believing in myself as an artist, and not just to believe in myself, but to show other people, like, regardless of the adversities that you deal with, you can still make it. You can still, you know, make your dreams happen, regardless of anybody trying to exploit you or anybody trying to like take from you. Um, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And I feel like, and what really bothers me is when other artists like co-sign it and lean into it, because it's like, bro, you were artist. You were artist. Like, if your shit got leaked, all hell would all hell would break loose. And there's artists whose things have been leaked. Like recently, like Lotto had like over like 100 and some songs leaked online. And that's like, bro, that's like a catalog. That's several works that could be multiple catalogs, multiple pieces within her catalog, is what I'm trying to say. And it's like, it's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? And especially as an artist, and there's already so many things you got to worry about with like these labels and lawyers and contracts and all these things. And then, people just find creative ways to exploit artists. And it's unfortunate. And it's not okay. And it's definitely not okay when, other artists, you know, play into that. And I say this to say, like, if there's any other creatives out there who's ever been through anything like that and knows what that feels like, to have your work, like, on display without your permission or, exploited in any way or replicated. And it's like, and you don't get the credit for it. Like, that's why I said at the very beginning, like, I'm working on flash drives. I got that idea from Dawn Richard because she was the first person I ever seen do that. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due because I've always been that way. Sometimes I might forget it or say like two people might have said the same message, and I'll give credit to one person and the other person I'll be like, well, I've said this on my page. I was like, okay, you're not the only person that said that, but I did give credit to somebody, you know. And I just feel like we need to be in an era where we shut down hatred and shut down negative, um, just treatment of one another. Like, even like everybody makes mistakes. Everybody fucks up. It's human. But it's like, especially if people are actually doing the work to be better and grow and evolve, like I feel like we should hold a little bit more grace and compassion for one another. And like be an example of what that looks like. Especially as black women, especially as creatives, especially as entrepreneurs and people who are trying to carve out a lane for themselves just because like we to some degree, like anyone that I've like, okay, black women creators, like the awkward black girl, like to some degree at some point in your life you felt like you were other, you felt like you didn't fit in, or you were too different, especially if you were creative as a kid, and you're like your style is a little quirky or you're into a different type of music or you're expressive, like you're usually the one that's different and off kilter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you've ever felt that way, and you know what it feels like to just be different, and people not always get it. And, and slowly but surely you find your way to the people who do get it, and if you've ever gotten to that space, like, just don't forget what that feels like. Like, don't forget what it was like when you were different, when you were like the awkward one or the weird one. Oh, you the one that's into that weird, you like to wear the weird clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then of course, like people catch up and it's like now it's cool. Now it's trendy, you know? Um, but I just say that to say, like, like don't forget that those roots. Don't forget what that feels like. And just be mindful that when you know, hear these situations about other artists, and even in my situation, like just be mindful of, like, are you leaning into that? Are you leaning into like the hatred and the negativity and the shaming and all that stuff, as if you might not have already been through some situation like that yourself? You know, like, are you, being judgmental of other creatives when you're creative yourself? Are you like shitting on black women for being a little quirky and having like a path that, might not have been in alignment with the status quo when you're a black woman too? And even if you're not a black woman, if you're just a person, like I just like challenge people to have a little bit more compassion. You know what I'm saying? So that's my TED talk. I know I was gonna work on flash drives, but I'm not gonna do that right now. I will work on it a little bit later. I'll probably get back on here. Um, but I hope this message finds whoever needs it well. This is, you know, me in the process of, you know, demanding autonomy for my creative work and self expression. And also in a way where I can hopefully inspire somebody else that might have felt the things that I felt when I was that girl, when I felt like the awkward black girl that, wasn't pretty and didn't feel like I had the clothes to express the fashion that I wanted to wear. You know, I don't know. Hopefully, this inspires you to not go down some negative paths, but also find a way to define yourself. Don't let nobody sway you up and swing you down. Just, stay centered within yourself and, align with genuine folks. With that said, that's the end of this stream. I hope this message finds whoever well. And I'll probably be back in a little bit to do the flash drives. So, yeah, because I mean, there's some work I got to do despite the circumstance that I'm dealing with these devices and my creative work. But it's like I got shit to get done. I have things to get done, and I'm like slowly but surely like trying to gain um, control over like some creative stuff. It's like I'm an artist, and like I've intentionally not been working on certain things just because like I won't settle for the exploitation of my work. And I won't settle for less than I deserve. You know, I'm just not. But I mean, there's just certain things I have to get done in this time being until I can get into a safer, creative environment. Um, so, with that said, um, I hope you all enjoy. Actually, before we end this live, there was something that I wanted to do with you all. Because I mentioned prayer, right? And I'm very much into that. I'm very much into that. Okay, I don't want this to be like super long, but we're gonna do it. Because I don't know, some of you might have seen it, some of you might not have. Um, But there's affirmations that I wrote and like just prayers that I say um, daily, or I try to say it daily. Sometimes I don't say them, but there's certain prayers that I have memorized, or just certain like lines from the prayers that I say to like get me through. And I hope that this can serve as something to empower you, to uplift you, to elevate you, and inspire you. The ways that these words inspire me, because, like, they say sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can't hurt you. No, words can be hurtful. And I know I've heard hurtful words, and I know at some point in life that I've said hurtful words to someone. And, because of that, I aim to be better about my words. And I know I have my moments when I vent, but, I'm human. I don't always get it right. But I do want to share these prayers and close out on a blessing of a note. So I have like three of them that I want to do. So first off, I'm gonna start with one that isn't mine. So there is this hoodoo conjure woman named Bossy Bruja, um, who makes spiritual oils, and she has a spiritual shop. And there was a point in time where I was like heavily following her content, and I ordered some products from her, and in it came like a slip with a prayer, and that thing has been like gold for me. So I don't know if she's gonna see this or not, but thank you for that, because that prayer has been a godsend for me, and I'm grateful, very grateful to it, and to you for putting that in there. It might have just been like, all right, whatever, I'm just putting this in all the packages, all my orders as I get orders, but those words have been very like crucial in getting me through some really tough times, and I'm grateful for that. And so, again, giving credit where credit is due, this prayer was said by Bossy Duha, and she has really good prayers. Like, she has a lot of different prayers, um, but man, and she's just so eloquent with her words. And so I want to share this prayer with you from Bossy Duha. And so it's a prayer to elevate your life. Now, I'm going to say I altered it a little bit for myself. Altered it, no pun intended. I did alter it a little bit, just because, like, I believe that she is a patron of Santa Muerte, and respectfully, I am not. Every now and then I have like moments where I feel like she like appears. Um, but I know me personally, I don't want to commit to a spiritual deity that I know I can't full time. So respectfully, I didn't include her in this prayer. But in her original prayer, she mentioned Santa Muerte. So, I just want to throw that disclaimer out there just in case like, you're like, that's not the prayer I wrote. So, I made it a little bit more palatable for anyone that might be in, just more general, depending on whatever your spiritual practice is. I just wrote God. So, with that said, a prayer to elevate your life. God hears me when I call. My life is beautiful and incredibly blessed. I am undaunted and victorious beyond comprehension. I cannot lose. God continues to position me in places of power and prepare table after table for me in the presence of my enemies. There isn't a technology, spiritual or otherwise, in existence that man can use to prevent God's will from being done in and through my life. God, God lovingly transmutes some enemies to friends and removes the others permanently. That's my alteration. I am utterly lovable, and I enthusiastically show people to their higher selves. I know I'm more than a conqueror, and soon others will know it too. I operate in high intelligence, overflowing in constant divine feminine creativity. God, God prospers me. My honorable ancestors raise me. My spirits support me. My elders teach me. My contemporaries respect and honor me. My charges love me. My life is truly blessed beyond anything I ever imagined, and it is only getting better. My word is the law unto my life. I speak exclusively of God, dreams, goodness, truth, purpose, magic, power, wellness, and prosperity. My life reflects my impeccable speech and expansive thought. The old now fades away and makes room for the new. It is established. Amen. Amen. Ain't that good? Mm. I'm like, she uses such yummy vocabulary. Like, my life reflects my impeccable speech and expansive thoughts. Like, yeah, we love that. We love that. Okay. And I mean, I appreciate that as a writer, as a songwriter. Like, I love anything with like some good words. Now, my affirmations are a little more simplistic, but palatable. So these are my affirmations for my highest self. I know my worth. I protect my worth. I have confidence in my magic. I protect my divine femininity. I heal people. I help people. I do the right thing. I am there for my friends and family. I stand up for myself and I stand up for others. I'm confident. I fight back when necessary. I value my physical health. I value my spiritual health. I value my emotional health. That's not in there, but I added that in there. I am selfless. I am giving. I treat people right. I treat animals right. I heal from trauma. I vibrate high. I care for my space. I take care of my space. I take care of my loved ones. I expect a change for the better. I welcome high vibrations. I value my time. I value others' time. I have a strong work ethic. I work smart. I attract money easily, lovingly, and safely. I manage money well. I am consistent. I am disciplined. I am honest. I am honorable. I am a healing person that helps others heal. I only allow high frequencies to have access to me. I live with an attitude of gratitude. And every day I align with my higher self and I love, guide, and protect myself. So it is so will be. And thank you for what has already been. Amen. Amen. Show. And I'm just gonna say, like, now when it comes to affirmations, I know there are some of these that I haven't quite mastered yet. But the point is like declaring where you want yourself to be as if it's already there, you know? So I know there's certain things where it's like, I know I struggle with time management, but the point is for me to say this so I can slowly but surely get better with it. You know what I mean? And kind of like what I was speaking to earlier about like, building your confidence with yourself. If you're in a space where you feel insecure and you feel like you're not enough and this and that and blah, 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 like, you know, you have to speak that over yourself as if it's already yours, even when you don't feel beautiful. Like, girl, I'm the baddest that can be. Okay. And it's like, you really have to tell yourself this. And even when you don't feel it, you don't feel like it, like that's especially when you have to do that, you know? It's important because that's where you find the alignment. Because, I mean, when you're aligning to something, that's because you're not quite there yet. So, and and I say that because, like, even in looking at these affirmations, I know there are things that I used to not feel about myself, but I feel like I align with it now. So, and even though there's still things that I'm working towards, I know there will be a day sooner rather than later because I know through all space and time I'm already there. But there will be a day where I've aligned with it all, But I know I can look at the affirmations and be like, huh, I remember a year ago, I was not good at that. But now I am. So, yeah, that's just to let you know, like, it's a process. And, you know, it takes time. So, anyway, last affirmation. Um, and these are like my daily mantras. So, stuff that I just say to myself. And, I hope this can be daily mantras for you too. I am a child of God. I am divinely blessed and protected. I am a divine spiritual being. My spiritual DNA is perfect. My power is in my DNA. God is working a miracle through my life. I will live a life with purpose and integrity. I am a light that leads others to their light. I live by example. I am an asset to every space. All weapons attempted to be formed against me will fall upon my enemies. I am guided, covered, and anointed by God, the Most High. I was born prosperous. I am abundant. I am loved by many. I am respected by many. I am protected by many. I am rich in health and happiness. I expect the best in life. Everything is always working out in my favor. What I desire desires me. I've already manifested victory, love, and happiness through all space and time. So it is. So it will be. Thank you for what has already been. And I share. So that is my last prayer, mantra, affirmations that I hope will be a positive influence and reflection. Um, again, like this is for the little black girls that might not, you know, feel like they're beautiful. Just know that you are, and don't let nobody tell you who you are. Like even if people compliment you, receive the compliment, but be centered in knowing that you're beautiful, you know, and create the world that you want for yourself, and don't let nobody hold you back. And even if you're in a compromising circumstance right now, and you're in a difficult circumstance and a situation where you feel like, your back might be against the wall and you kind of have nobody to go to, like, don't give up. Slowly but surely, just every day work towards being a better you. And, you'll find your way. And just believe that and trust that. And know that, expect the best in life, even when it don't look like it. I mean, if I can say that, given the things I've been through and am going through, some of y'all might know more than you think or whatever. If I can do it, you can do it. And that's what keeps me going. Is that I hope that somebody can think that and see that and it's like, damn, like, they don't let this girl get a break. But you know what? If she can show up and still find a reason to laugh and smile and joke and and try to get a positive message out there, if she can do it, I can do it. So with that said, that's the end of my TED talk. It's over now. Um, so I hope you enjoy this message. I hope you have a blessed night and come back because I will be, working on my flash drives. So love to you all.